Aloha kakahiaka o Representative Andrea Tupola Ko'ui Noa. E kāna like au I ko'u mana'o e pili ana no I na hanana ma Maui I Nehine. O ka olelo Hawaii laua o Pelekenia na olelo kuhelu o keia moku aina. I Nehine kapaia I ke kahi kane I ka aha ma Maui. Mehe mea la aia kākou I ka hapa mua o ke kene kulia umi kumaiwa. Hele ka'u mau keiki I ke kula kaiapuni no ka mea he I ini ko'u no ka ho'omau ma ko olelo Hawaii. Ana, ho'omau ana o ka olelo Hawaii. My name is Representative Andrea Tupola and I want to share my thoughts about what happened yesterday in the courts in Maui. And this morning I called over to the courts, to the Chief Justice, to express, the frustration that we feel about what happened. As many people have now seen the news articles, we've seen live videos. It's disheartening to know that there's these policies in place that supposedly say that there's equal language access when that clearly wasn't the case. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But what my comment said is basically that Hawaiian and English are the official languages of Hawaii, supposedly. And that yesterday, the events that happened when a man was ignored took us back to the 19th century. It really took us back to things that we thought we passed. And my children go to Kaiapuni because I believe that Hawaiian language is important. As many of you know, I'm half Samoan, so we go to church in Samoan. My husband's Tongan. We speak Tongan to the kids. My children go to school in Hawaiian language because I want them to learn about it. I want them to learn about their culture, about who they are, about this place that we live in, that they're connected to. And so the incidents that happened yesterday were unfortunate because as Hawaiians, as people of this place, we're constantly told that the government's going to respect their culture. Sometimes they put olelo no'eaus behind the speakers at various events. And sometimes I don't like to see it because I wonder how many people really internalize what that means. And I think that for those people who are there and saw the incidents that happened, which I would encourage you to watch the video for yourself and determine what you think about it. So as he stood there and made the comments, and then the judge pretended that he couldn't hear, and then the clerks played along, and then the prosecutors played along. We don't go to the courts to put on a show. It's not for theatrics. It is for justice. We might be lawmakers, police might be law enforcers, but we rely on the judiciary to be law interpreters. And how can that be when there's a policy clearly stated on their website? And I'm going to read it for you. It's called Judiciary Policy Number 12. You guys can look it up because you know me, I like to reference everything back to what's stated in law. The Hawaii State Judiciary is committed to providing meaningful access to court processes and services to persons with limited English proficiencies. In all case types, the judiciary shall reasonably provide free of charge and in timely manner competent court interpreters for parties, witnesses, and individuals with a substantial interest in a case. It shall also provide language assistance services at points of contact with the judiciary, including over-the-counter and over-the-telephone encounters for all judiciary-related business. The judiciary shall notify the public of the judiciary's language assistance commitment. So I printed out this paper that has all the interpreters, and I looked up how many interpreters we have. So there's about 35 different languages listed here, and for each of the languages they also list possible people that they subcontract out that can be language interpreters. So there's quite a few that do American Sign Language. We have Chuukese, we have French, we have Ilocano. Let me go to the one about Hawaiian. So I went to page, let's see, I think it's on page, I want you guys to look it up yourself as well. I think it'd be good for us to all learn together. Here it on page 6 of the Judiciary Court Interpreter Certification Program, there's only one interpreter that does Hawaiian, just one. And it is actually on the island of Kauai. So it says language, Hawaiian Ni'ihau. So they said for those who come from Ni'ihau, this person is proficient. They've done their minimum requirements to be an interpreter, but there's just one. And I look at the Office of Language Access. Did you know that we have one of those in the state? Because we're actually supposed to be providing access for everybody in regards to anything, not just the judiciary, but if you come to the legislature, if you need services, social services. So it says here, many individuals living in Hawaii read, write, speak, and understand English. There are many individuals, however, who are limited in their English proficiency. And then it goes on to say how many people we have. And it's interesting to note, I'm going to read this for you real quick, but it's interesting to note that there is actually a huge amount of people that use interpretive services. And I recently was helping the Korean Association because they don't even get the ballot translated into Korean. Did you know that? So not even the local voting ballot is translated into their language. I called over, asked the Office of Elections, and they said because there's not a substantial amount of Koreans per the census, they can only interpret or translate the ballot into the languages where there's a sufficient amount of people in our state that speak that language. So it says here on the language access that about 4 Hawaii residents speak a language other than English at home, which is higher than the U.S. average of 21%. So for many, English is not their primary language, and they have a limited learning ability. So in 2006, the legislature recognized and acknowledged that language is a barrier for those living in Hawaii who have identified themselves as another language as their primary language. So I want to hear what you guys have to say, because as I said earlier in this video, we embrace many languages in my home. Aside from my children going to Kaiapuni, aside from my husband and his family speaking Tongan, my family speaking Samoan, my husband and I speak Spanish fluently, and this whole incident of not providing language access and pretending that somebody wasn't there because we don't have the ability to interpret it, no. I don't think that that was really the case. It was actually something more than just not providing language access. But can you imagine though? Can you imagine that happening for anybody else? Can you imagine if there was somebody from another country, any country, let's just pick your country, China, Korea, any country where they weren't able to speak. Do you think that it would happen like this? And if it did, then what is that to be said about all of these laws that have been passed about language access? Because my thing is that there are many laws that are put into statute, but people don't follow them. And so what do? We can't keep creating bills to remind people that there's already a law to provide these access or these points for people to be a part of the system. And this has created a huge distrust between the public and the government. And remember, the government is not our state. We make up the state. The government is meant to serve the state, but the people make up the state of Hawaii. So I want to hear your comments. I definitely am sending this letter over to the judiciary. I already called over to the Chief Justice, shared my thoughts with him this morning. Going to call the other Hawaiian legislators and any legislators. Because like I said, it could be any language that this would have happened in. And then what? If we don't uphold the laws that are written now for this case that happened in Maui in regards to the Hawaiian language, what will happen when it happens to Korean people? What will happen when it happens to Ilocano, the Ilocano language, or when it happens in any other language that someone happens to not have an interpreter in the court? So please share your thoughts. My name is Andrea Tupola. Do we have questions?
We have one question from Val and Robert Alika Adams. They asked, did the judge break a law?
You know, when I looked up these policies, now policies are meant to be administrative internal rules, and that's what I called over to the Chief Justice, is I wanted to know if they wrote down and if we have these access laws, because I'm looking at the laws, right? So I'm looking at, let's see, what is it? 321C. That's what I read this morning to you. So 321C says what the obligation, it says here, each state agency and covered entity shall establish a plan for language access. So that's what I read on the judiciary's website is what their plan is. What I showed you with all these interpreters is an outline of their plan. And that's a great question. And that's the question I asked to the Chief Justice today. And he basically said that they're coming together with a statement from the courts about what happened. But is that breaking the law? Because as I read it, there is already laws stating that the access has to be there. Well, do we have any other good questions?
There's one more, and I think it is a good question. Kaupuni Peters Wong asked, in regards to Hawaiian interpreters? Just one?
There's just one. And I even called, just so you know, I didn't just read this. I called over to the language access portion of the judiciary and I asked the head, I said, is it true that you only have one Hawaiian language interpreter? And she said, yes. And I said, and it states Kauai. So does that mean they only interpret for Kauai? She said, no, we fly him around and he provides, translation where he can. But she said she doesn't know. Maybe there's some more coming up that are taking the courses, but for you guys to know that, that's pretty important. All right, guys, my name is Representative Andrea Tupola. Share your thoughts, share this video. Please speak out because we do think that it's an important issue that needs to be handled right away.